Bonjour, c'est Virginie and you are watching Virginie TV, your destination to become a little bit French. This is episode number 2 of our Marie-Antoinette special series. If you haven't seen number 1, go back and watch it. It's called 3 Things You Didn't Know About Marie-Antoinette. Today, via Marie-Antoinette, we're going to learn some French language and some French history. We're going to use her citation, quote. The quote will be in French. I will give you, of course, the English translation. I will point out a few rules here and there that will help you with your French learning. And then I will give you some historical context so you can follow the whole thing like a story. Citation numéro 1, quote number 1. Ici, je ne suis plus la reine, je suis moi. Ici, je ne suis plus la reine, je suis moi. Here, I am no longer the queen, I am me. So what I want to point out to you here is that a standard negation in French is ne pas, ne pas. If I was to say je ne suis pas, I would be saying I am not. But here, when you change the pas for the plus, je ne suis plus, it means I am no longer. Je ne suis plus. What is she talking about here? She is referring to her Petit Trianon, her home in Versailles, just for her. And that is one of the reasons why she was so not popular with the French court and the rest of the French country. Citation numéro 2, quote number 2. Je sais qu'on vient de Paris pour demander ma tête, mais j'ai appris de ma mère à ne pas craindre la mort et je l'attendrai avec fermeté. Now for the translation. I know that one is coming from Paris to ask for my head. But I have learned from my mother not to fear death, and I will wait for it with firmness. 3 things I want to point out to you in this quote by Marie-Antoinette. The first one is je sais. So je sais means I know. If we go back to what we just learned, if we wanted to make it negative, we would say je ne sais pas, I don't know. And if we wanted to say I no longer know, we would say je ne sais plus. The second thing I wanted to point out is the verb demander. Demander is called a faux ami, a false friend. Why is that? A faux ami is when you have 2 words that are practically the same in French and in English. So demander makes you think of to demand. You see demander, you think, oh, that's easy, that means to demand. It does not. It means to ask. The last thing I want to point out to you is in that last part of the sentence, je l'attendrai. Je l'attendrai means I will wait for it. It being the L apostrophe. Here is one big difference between French and English. In English, the pronoun comes after the verb. In French, the pronoun comes before the verb. I'll give you a very simple example. I love you. I love you. Subject, verb, pronoun. In French, we say je t'aime. The T apostrophe being the you. So we say I, you, love. And now for the historical context, Marie-Antoinette said these words in October 1789, 3 months after the beginning of the French Revolution. She and her family still lived in Versailles back in October, but not for long because the women from Paris, starving to death, marched all the way to Versailles to demand some bread. Citation numéro 3, quote number 3. Je suis calme, comme on l'est quand la conscience ne reproche rien. I am calm as one is when the conscience reproaches nothing. So, we have a little theme going on. Remember, we did the ne pas for the standard negation. We did ne plus, meaning no longer. And now, what do we see in this sentence? Ne rien. Ne reproche rien. That means nothing. You probably know the song by Edith Piaf, Non, rien de rien. Non, je ne regrette rien. No, I regret nothing. Historical context here for quote number 3. Marie-Antoinette writes these words to the sister of her husband. Her name is Madame Elisabeth. She writes these right before she is to be taken to the guillotine. It's a farewell letter. Citation numéro 4, quote number 4. Monsieur, je vous demande excuse, je ne l'ai pas fait exprès. Sir, I am sorry, I did not do it on purpose. Two things I want to show you here. Je vous demande excuse. I ask you to excuse me. It doesn't really translate, but I want to point out again the placement of the pronoun. Je vous demande, I ask you. We say I, you, ask. Again, demander is to ask, not to demand. Actually, this expression, je vous demande excuse, we don't really say that. We actually don't say that at all. We say, je vous demande pardon. Remember, this is 18th century French. Je vous demande pardon. You can say that today. The other one I wanted to show you is the expression faire exprès. She said, je ne l'ai pas fait exprès. I didn't do it on purpose. Faire exprès is to do something on purpose. So for the historical context here, it's actually pretty touching and pretty sad. As she is being led to the guillotine, she's walking up the steps and she accidentally steps on the feet of Samson. Samson was the executioner, and she apologizes. She says, I am sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. Citation numéro 5, quote number 5. Okay, you're gonna laugh now. This is a quote that isn't a quote. I had to talk about it because everybody says that she said these words, but she did not. You have guessed. Let them eat cake. She never said let them eat cake, which, by the way, in French is qu'ils mangent de la brioche. These words were invented by the writer and philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who published them in his book Les Confessions in 1782. There is a princess in his book, in his story, that says qu'il mange de la brioche. Now it's interesting anyway, and that's why I'm talking about it, because in this little sentence you really see the social gap, the social distance between the nobility and the working class. The idea, remember those women that came all the way from Paris to Versailles to demand some bread? Well, that's when she is supposed to have said, let them eat cake. The idea is that it is so incredible for her to imagine that someone could not eat bread because they simply can't afford it, that she suggests something that is even more expensive, like une brioche. I'm sure you've had a brioche. It's kind of like a croissant, but more sweet. Et voilà, c'est terminé pour aujourd'hui. We're done for today. I hope you loved the video. If so, subscribe to my channel, Virginie TV. Go to the website to ask for the weekly updates. And remember, you have 2 more Marie-Antoinette episodes coming your way, so look out for these. Also, remember, we will be ending with a very special evening called Soirée Marie-Antoinette. I'm putting all the details in the link below. This was your French friend Virginie, helping you become a little bit French. Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.